Up next, Unbothered, a Speaking of show by WFSU. This week, we're adding it all up and talking about the new math children are learning in schools today.
Hi again, friends. It's me, your good friend Olivia. So, talking about new math and how it's really not new math. And I wanted to get perspective from a parent who is raising, honestly, a litter of children in this
Maybe.
right, a litter of children in
Definitely.
this new era of math. Everybody, please welcome my good friend and colleague Brandy. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and what is your role here at WFSU?
Absolutely. I'm Brandy Staney. I work at WFSU as the production supervisor. I pretty much take care of the studio and all events that happen in there. And then I have some producer hats that I wear also.
You have 4 kids. Correct?
4 amazing children.
Four babies. That's why I said earlier, you have a litter. You literally
I almost have a
litter.
sports team.
You almost
know?
have a starting. You almost have a starting lineup. You almost do.
I stopped too soon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm done.
So if you could state their ages.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I have an 18-year-old who is graduating high school in 2 weeks. I am not ready for that. Actually, less than 2 weeks now.
Oh.
I have an 11-year-old in 5th grade, a 10-year-old in 4th grade, and an 8-year-old in 2nd grade.
So it's 18, and then the next one is, you said 11?
11. Mhm.
Yeah, so you definitely saw that change. So what was that like for you as a parent?
It was a lot.
Mhm.
This is one of the areas where it's kind of weird for me because my oldest went to a private school, or still attending a private school. And so his education was a little bit different than the younger 3.
Okay.
And the younger 3 are at a charter school,
Right.
which their math system is a little different from the regular public schools. However, my 11-year-old did go to public school for a couple of years before we bumped him to the charter school. So he was around the time where they started doing the quote new math,
Yes.
which was not really new, but it was different, and it
Yeah.
was annoyingly different enough
Yeah.
that I'll be honest, part of me was like, what it was working. Why did we change it?
Right. I have a very special guest with me, and she's going to be talking to us about what's up with new math. Okay, so could you please introduce yourself for our listeners and your role at your you have a full-time job besides working with us at the education department. So if you could tell us your full-time job and then what is your job capacity for us in the education department?
Okay. My name is Rashana Beard. I am a teacher in Leon County, currently an interventionist. I have held some leadership roles and capacities here in Leon County. I'm currently working as an interventionist in mathematics for the Bureau of School Improvement. I work in the capacity with the education and engagement team here as the intermediate guru for mathematics and reading, with a very, very specificness in mathematics, because there is no new math. It's just some thinking needs to maybe change.
We are so going to get into that a little bit later. Also, are you going to say your last title? Remember?
Oh, I am the early learning champion from the inaugural class of 2018 for PBS Kids National in DC.
Okay, so how is the approach to teaching math today different from the way many parents and even some teachers learned it? And if you could give some examples.
Things that we were learning in the order that we were learning them was a lot less chunked. I'm teaching stem and leaf plots to my 4th graders. When did you learn stem and leaf plots?
Oh my, oof. Man, I had a whole, when you said stem and leaf plots, I was like, I haven't heard that word, honestly. I really want to say high school, maybe even like 8th grade.
Yeah. I remember having a friend who was, I was staying with us. Her mother and my grandmother were friends, and she was definitely in the 7th grade. And I was maybe in 5th, and she was talking about stem and leaf plots. And I was just like, oh, I can't wait to learn those. And I remember learning those, and that was exciting. But I am teaching 4th graders how to create a stem and leaf plot and how to read the data and answer real-world questions to a stem and leaf plot. Finding the mean, not the mean, I'm sorry, that's a 5th grade standard. Finding the average and the mean is a 5th grade standard. But being able to find the mode, the range, and the median of a stem and leaf plot, or being able to create it from a data set, being able to understand frequency tables, a line plot. So it's not that the math is new, it's just not as spread out as it used to be. A lot of students are no longer getting to middle school and trying to get to algebraic reasoning in mathematics. They have been doing algebraic reasoning skills since they were in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Not in the sense of, oh, X is equal to Y if this is this, but more on the communicative process. They're able to communicate the math that they're doing. If I have 10 groups of 10s, that's equal to 100. So those 10 rod sticks that we used to have, we had those.
Yeah.
But these kids are able to say, oh, that's 6 groups of 10, that's 60. And that now is multiplication. And so they are understanding that if I have 10 groups of 10, I have 100, but 10 groups of 100 is now 1,000. And so they are multiplying with reason by being able to chunk that information. So as they progress through the benchmarks from pre-K to kindergarten, by the end of kindergarten, a student should be able to count to 20. And they should be able to count backwards from 10 fluently. 1-to-1 corresponds by the end of kindergarten.
Wow.
And by the end of kindergarten, they should be able to, within the benchmarks, be able to add up to 10. So being able to say 1 plus 9 is 10, 2 plus 8 is 10, being able to find those patterns in those numbers.
Right.
And so they're also exposed to writing equations. What plus 8 will give me 10? But because they've been focusing on that, that's where they're at. Then by the end of 1st grade, they are adding and subtracting with regrouping. So what has also changed is the vocabulary that we're using, because some of those mnemonic devices that we had to help you remember, that doesn't carry over into higher order thinking mathematics.
You can hear more of that conversation on our newly updated podcast, Unbothered, available on all platforms. That's it for this week's Speaking of Radio Hour. Got something to say? An idea for a show? Drop us a line at speakingof@wfsu.org. We want to hear from you. Speaking of is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. And it's brought to you by the fabulous, wonderful, yet overworked storytellers here at WFSU Public Media. Talk soon.